drop in the chat. Oh, quick little notification. We're going to be recording this and we'll send it to you after. So if you want to use it to learn from, that's what that's about. What are we going to say? I lost my train of thought. Oh, if you want to drop in the chat your experience level with coding, computer science, that can be like everything from I'm an expert and I know it, like almost all of it, because we can never know all of it, right? Or it can be like I've never done it at all. So just a 1 to 5 in the chat, that'll help us gauge how to pace instruction as we go. If you are having trouble hopping on the playground link, let us know. If you are there and you want to give us a thumbs up, that's great. Looks like we've got novice, no experience, novice. We've got a group of rookies. That's awesome. I myself started coding in the last year. I'd never done it before. And when I found Skillstruck, one of the things I loved about it was somebody who's got no experience with coding at all can find a lot of success using the tools that we offer and the instruction we offer. So when we're wanting to build kids and teachers up, it's a great resource for that. You guys are a quiet crowd. You can unmute and talk too if you want to. Andy has never had any experience, but you're excited. Good. Novice to intermediate. Love it. This is exciting. It looks like everyone's going to be pretty close to the same level, which is always nice when we're learning new things. I think it looks like we have everyone on who's going to hop on. So I'll just give a couple quick announcements and we'll get started. I'm Valerie. I live in Utah. I'm a partnership manager and I love working here. I love what we can do through computer science education, the tools and the empowerment that we can give students, whether they just are learning the thinking skills or whether they actually want to follow that career pathway. Something I'm super passionate about and I love being a part of it. This event is recorded. You got that notification. We will send a recording out after, so you have access to that. You can get a certificate for attending this if your district honors that as professional development. That's a great option. And just shoot us an email after the event letting us know you want one, and we'll get that sent to you. As we are in this event, if you have questions, we have a couple people on here for support. We have Jai, and I think we have one other. Who else is with us for support? Sam, is it you? Oh, you're muted.
We have Crystal with us. Yep.
Crystal. We have some support people. Oh, she wrote in the chat. We have some support people here to help you out if you have questions. So feel free to be active in that chat. You can copy and paste your code in there. We can debug it. We want you to be successful, so we're here to support you. And you'll have access to the playground link that you're in right now for 3 days after the event. So if you want to go back in there and mess around with it, you'll have 3 days to access that. Our teacher today is Bree. Bree used to be an elementary ed teacher, and we're so happy to have her here at Skillstruck. She writes the curriculum for us for elementary ed, and she is just awesome. You'll love her. So I'm going to turn the time over to Bree, and thank you all for coming.
Awesome. Well, hello, everybody. I'm excited to be here with you today. Like Valerie said, my name is Bree. I was a teacher myself for a few years, so I love working with you guys, being back in teaching code. So I noticed in the chat, we have mostly new coders in our group, which I love. So that's where I'm going to be teaching. We're going to be starting from ground zero. In order for us to do this today, you guys should have gotten a link inside the chat on Zoom. When you click that link, it's going to pull up a page that looks like this. It says Code Playground. Once you guys click the link, fill in the information, And then your screen should look like this. So I'm gonna give everyone, let's say 10 seconds to get on the screen. I would say the best way to go about this is to have Zoom on maybe half of your screen and this code playground on the other half of your screen. That way you're able to watch what I'm doing and follow along at the same time. But as you guys log on, I'm going to be explaining the platform a little bit for you, so we are aware of what we're working with today. So this is the code playground that we're going to be coding on. And on the left side here, we have these lessons. Today we are going to be working in the first course, HTML1. So notice we're going to click HTML1 and we're going to start in HTML basics, this lesson here. So again, HTML1, then HTML basics. This here pulls up a textbook. I prefer teaching like hands-on, so I'm not going to be reading through the textbook with you guys. We're more so going to be actively coding to learn. But this is here, it's a great reference. If you miss anything I say, two options. One, you can refer to the textbook on the left side, or two, we do have Jai and Crystal in the chat who are waiting anxiously to answer your questions. So feel free to plug those in. This is for you guys to be as helpful as possible. So please ask any questions. In the middle here, this is where we are going to write our code. And on the right side, this is where our code is going to output. It's our code output. It's going to show us what it would look like on a website if it was actively running. So again, textbook, code editor, code output. So just so you are aware of the platform and what we're working with, that is where we're going to start. I am going to pull up my chat box in case anything comes up, and let's get started. Okay, so today I'm super excited to be working with you. We are going to be learning HTML. HTML is a coding language. It stands for Hypertext Markup Language. You don't really need to know that. You just need to know that HTML is the language that is used to build websites. So if you go on YouTube or Google or your school website, elements of that were built using HTML. So we're going to learn those basics today. And by the end of this event, you're going to have your own website built on your own. So let's go ahead and get started. The way I'm going to teach this is I'm going to zoom in a little so you can see. All right. And I'm going to type something. I want you guys to follow along, and I'm going to explain it after. Okay, so we're going to type one line of code and then we'll explain it. So we're going to do an open angle bracket. And that symbol is going to be next to the M on your keyboard. And then we're going to do H1 closing angle bracket. Zoom in a little more. Can you guys see that okay? Is that a good size on your screen? Great. Okay, and then we're going to write hello world. And then we're going to do another angle bracket / H1 closing angle bracket. Okay, I'm going to leave this here for a second. I want you guys to do this on your own screen, and I'm going to explain what we just did. So this whole thing here is called a header tag. Now, a tag is basically just a line of code. It's different from the tag on your t-shirt or different from a price tag. Again, a tag is a line of code. So you're going to notice that we have two elements here. This first one is called an opening tag. This is really similar to like the capital letter on your sentence. It's indicating, okay, this is the beginning of our sentence. This opening tag is us telling the computer this is the beginning of our tag. Same thing at the end here. This is called a closing tag. This is like the period on your sentence. If by putting our closing tag, we're telling the computer this is the end of our tag. So it's really, really important that you always include your opening tag and closing tag, because that's how the computer is going to know what to show on your website. So if we look to the right here, you're going to see, oh, okay, yeah, it popped up with hello world. It looks like a title. That's what headers are. That's why we call this a header tag, because we're using it to write a header or a title on our website here. So if you look in the textbook to the left, you notice HTML basics. What is HTML? These are examples of headers being used on the Skillstruck website. And this is how they are built. We have that header tag. Whatever you write in between your opening and closing tag is what's going to show on your website. So if I wanted to write, how are you? Notice that that's going to show on my website because I'm writing it in between the opening and closing tag. All right, so now that we're aware of header tags and have a little idea of what we're doing here, I want to ask you guys, let's go ahead and have you try 2 more header tags. So do H1. So we write our opening tag. What if I do, I'll do hello world again. You can write whatever you want. And remember your closing tag. So do it one more time. So you have 3 headers written on your website. So we have our opening H1 tag. Quick note, a good tip to practice is to always write your closing tag right after the opening tag. This is going to ensure that you don't forget it, because if you do forget your closing tag, again, the computer is looking for that to know where does the tagline end. So a good practice, write your closing tag after the opening tag. And then you can go back and fill in the middle what you want to say. So as we're going today, feel free to type in the chat again, any questions. Also let me know if I'm moving too quickly or if I'm going too slow. This is for you guys, so I definitely want to make this at your pace and what feels comfortable to you. But let me just show you really quick. On the left side here, you're going to notice these gray numbers. These are showing us our like the line of code that we're working on. So the reason we do that, I'd like to put a space in between each tag because it helps it stay organized. Technically, I could bunch them all together, and you're going to notice on the right side, nothing changes. That's because the computer's reading it as is, but a good rule of thumb is to put a space in between each tag because that helps keep it organized. It's easier for you to read. If you ever find you have a bug, which is the way we say mistake, if you have a mistake or a bug in your code, it's a lot easier to see. So you can put as many spaces in between as you want, and notice nothing changes here on the right. So feel free to organize it however feels easiest to you. Okay, moving on. Let's say we have this header tag here and you guys decide to change the number on the inside. Right now it says H1. I want you guys to play around with it. Go ahead and change it to a 3, to a 5, to a 10. Play around with it, change that number, see what happens. And notice that the code turns red on mine because whatever number is in your opening tag also needs to be in your closing tag. So because this is H3, this closing tag also needs to be H3. So in the chat, I'd love to hear, what do you guys notice when you change those numbers? What do you notice? Do they get bigger?
The fonts change.
Yeah, the size changes, right? How does it change? If I do a bigger number, how does that affect the size? Awesome. Yeah, I'm getting some great participation in the chat. Thank you guys. So the bigger the number you put, the smaller the font size. Now notice if I do H3, or that's my size font right here. If I do H6, it gets smaller. So it's a little tricky to remember at first, but with header tags, the bigger number you put in, the smaller the font's going to be. Well, let's take a look at this one. I did H10, and this turned back to kind of the default size. The reason why is because header tags only go to H6. If I do H7, H8, it's going to be super minuscule if the computer read that. So coders made the rule that it's only going to go to H6. Anything bigger than that, it's going to just default to the original default text size. So even if I did something crazy like H200, let's see, let's put that in. You're going to notice that nothing changes on it. Because it's bigger than 6, it's defaulting to that original size. So in the chat, let's see if we were paying attention. What number do header tags go up to? Awesome. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Wendy. Thank you, Gabrielle. Right, so it only goes up to H6. Thanks for participating in the chat, guys. Okay, so now that we have headers kind of down, these are really important because they can help us make what look like titles and subtitles on a website. So watch, if I were to make this one H1 and this one, let's say H3, it almost looks like a subtitle. And that's going to help us as we're building our websites. So what I want you guys to think of now is I want you to think of a website that you want to build on your own. I can show you a quick example here. So one that was done in the past was someone did it on their goals. So this is a website that they built about their goals. And today I want you to think, what would you like to build yours on? I'm going to build mine on the Olympics. I love the Olympics. I love that they happened this year. So that's what I'm going to be building it about. But I want you guys to decide, do you want to do it on your favorite hobbies, something you did this summer, something you teach? Feel free to choose your topic. And at the top here in this H1 tag, I want you to write the topic you're going to build your website about. So for me, I'm doing it on the Olympics. You feel free to choose whatever topic most interests you. And now that I have my title here, the Olympics, I kind of want it on an H1. I want this first title to be bigger. I now want you guys to decide 2 or 3 almost subtitles to include. So with me doing the Olympics, I'm going to think of 3 sports that the Olympics show, and I'm going to build my website off of those. So we're going to do an H3 tag. I'm going to start over so I do it with you. So I'm going to do H3. Then I'm going to do my closing tag. Remember that / H3 angle bracket. And then one sport that they do is gymnastics. Okay, so that's one subtitle. I want you guys to do 2 or 3 on yours. Go ahead and type those now. I'm going to do H3. Remember that closing tag has the / and another one is swimming. And let's do one more. I'm going to do an H3 tag. You could change the sizes if you want to. I'm going to keep all my subtitles the same size to make it look more cohesive. But you can change those if you would like. And then I'm going to do water polo. Okay, any questions up to this point? Feel free to type them in the chat or come off mute to ask. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and keep rolling, but please feel free to ask those questions whenever they arise. All right, so now that we have our headers, we want to make them look a little bit better. Okay, good question from Andy. So he said he leaves out the / on his closing tag, and they still appear the same on his website. So for now, I will say they aren't going to really change. As we start putting more information in, as we're adding images, paragraphs, that's when you're going to see it start to affect the other information. So you're not really noticing the difference now, but once we start to add more, you can play around with taking out that / or adding it back in. And you're going to notice it's going to shift the way the information looks on the website. So we definitely want to make sure that we're practicing adding that / in from the get-go. That way you don't have any issues later on. Good question. Okay, so now that we have our headers, let's go ahead and start adding some style to this website. Let's learn how to add text color. Now, quick note before I keep going, if I'm going too quickly, let me know in the chat. Or if I'm going too slow and you feel like, okay, I got this, I want to learn something new. You can go to this change lesson up here and jump to a topic that interests you. If I'm going too slow, feel free to jump around and find out how to do new things in HTML. Again, this is for you guys, so we want it to be as useful as possible. So yeah, just a note there. Feel free to jump ahead if that interests you. But we're going to be doing text colors now. So the way you add text color is we are going to be working inside the opening tag. Let me make my zoom so it works. Okay. So we're working inside this opening tag here. When I say we're inside the opening tag, what I mean is we're going to be working in between the 1 and the angle bracket. So kind of in this space right here, this is where we're working. So on text color, we need to tell the computer that we want to change the style of this header. So we're going to add a property or an attribute. We're going to say style. And remember, I'm in between the 1 and that angle bracket on my opening tag. Style equals quotation, quotation. So you should have 2 quotation marks after that equal sign. And now it's okay, what do we want to change about the style of this header? Well, we want to change the color. So we're going to write color in between the quotation marks, colon. And now feel free to write whatever color you want to change it to. Let's say I wanted to change it to gold. Okay, and then you can see that changes on the right side there. So play around with it. You could do pink, you could do turquoise. There's tons of colors that the computer recognizes. So find the color that you best want to see on your website. I think I'm going to stick with do maroon. And now that you've added style to one header tag, I want you guys to go through and add text color to your other 2 or 3 header tags that you have on that website. So again, we're going inside the opening tag. And I'm going to show you why. If I were to type it where it says gymnastics, if I was in between the opening and closing tag, and let's say I write that style equals quotation, quotation. Let's say I wanted it to be blue. Remember, anything that we add in between the opening and closing tag is going to show on the website. So that's why it's super important that you put it in the opening tag in between. Right here, it'd be the 3 in the angle bracket. We want to work in this space because then we're telling the computer, oh, this is how we want it to change the information that we're showing on our website. So again, it goes inside that opening tag. So go ahead and add that to the other 2 or 3 headers that you have on your page. Any questions? Also, if you find you're typing your code and there's a bug or something's not looking right, feel free to add that in the chat as well. Jai and Crystal definitely can help you find your bugs if you have any in your code. So don't be afraid to type that in. Okay, cool. Let's keep moving then. So now we have our text color. It's starting to look a little bit better, but what if we want to change the font? So for us to do this, I want you guys to change the lesson. So up here where it says change lesson on the left side, I want you to click into the fonts lesson. And I'll tell you why in a second. That's going to be helpful here. So font is, it styles the word, right? And we already have the style attribute here in our code. So since it's already there, we really don't need to add too much more. All we need to now tell it is the font we want to change it to. So because we have color inside these quotation marks, this is super important, so make sure you're paying attention. We need to add a semicolon after the color. This is going to separate the different properties that we're changing here. So I'm going to go semicolon. And then to change the font, it's going to be font hyphen family. That's the property. Font hyphen family. You need the hyphen, otherwise the computer won't recognize it. So font hyphen family colon. So this is what it should look like. Remember that semicolon after your color. And the reason why I had you pull up the textbook here is because if you scroll down, there's a lot of different options here for you to choose from as far as fonts go. So these first 5 will work on every browser. These other ones are kind of more of the fun fonts, I guess. These will work on some browsers. I don't know which ones work on which. So feel free to play around with them, see what ones will work on yours if you're interested. For mine, let's say I wanted the font to be the fantasy font. If I do fantasy, you're going to notice it changed that header font. So go ahead and play around with it. Add font to all of your header tags. Remember, it's semicolon after the color, font hyphen family, colon. And let's say I wanted these to be the Courier font. So again, if you're like, what fonts can I choose from? Look in the textbook where it says the fonts lesson, and that'll give you some options to choose from. So you can choose to make these all the same font, different fonts. It's up to you. All right. So I'm going to show you guys something, kind of an easier way to do it. If you're just finished getting all your fonts written in, you're like, oh, I just finished writing them. Don't worry about this. I'm going to delete mine for a second to show you something. But if you already just got them in and you're like, I don't want to delete them, you don't need to, you can leave them. But I want to show you something called the body tag. So I'm going to delete these really quick. Again, you don't need to if you don't want to. But I do want you to add in what I'm going to add. So notice I put a couple spaces before that first header tag on my page in my code editor. So the body tag, like the others, we're going to have an opening body tag. So it's angle bracket, body, closing angle bracket. And then every opening tag has a closing tag. It looks the exact same, just has that forward slash. So we're going to go angle bracket, forward slash, body, and then put that closing angle bracket. So this whole thing is called a body tag. And what this does is whatever we put in this body tag is going to affect the body of our code. Now, what I want you to do is take this closing body tag, and you can either rewrite it at the bottom or copy and paste it, but you're going to put the closing tag, the one with the forward slash, at the bottom of your code. And the opening tag should be before all of your code. So your code should be kind of sandwiched in this body tag. Awesome. And Jai's got some awesome tips in the chat if you're getting a little lost. All right, so for the body tag, let's say I wanted all of my code, the whole body of it, to be a certain font. Rather than feeling like you need to go to each individual tag and write the font, coders developed something called the body tag. And inside the opening tag, where we've been working with our header tags too, let's say I did style equals, and if I did font, family, Courier. So notice it affects these three here. If I take it out, again, we're looking at these three headers here. I'm going to paste it one more time so you can see the change. So it changes all three of those. Although you're going to notice that the Olympics header tag didn't change. And the reason why is because if you have a font inside an individual line, that's going to kind of override what's happening to all of the others. So that's why this one didn't change, but the others did. This one has a font in the line while the others don't. So it's going to affect all the ones that do not have a font. So yeah, that's the nice thing is coders, I like to say, are expert at being lazy, but in the best way, right? They want to be the most efficient they can be. So they've invented the body tag. So you can put one thing in there and it'll affect everything rather than having tons of lines that you have to go in individually and do. So that's where it becomes helpful. Okay, with the body tag, I want to teach you guys how to add a background color. This is going to be done in that same body tag. If you have font family in there, we're going to need to separate it, remember, with the semicolon. So I'm putting this after. If you didn't do the font in there, that's okay. You're just going to be starting fresh. So you should have the angle bracket, body, style equals quotation, quotation. If you have font family in there, great, put that semicolon. If not, everyone's going to be typing this part to learn how to add background color. So the property is background hyphen color. Make sure you spell everything correctly also. If you forgot the G in background, the computer is not going to recognize it. So make sure everything's spelled right. Background color, colon. And I like to start with a bright color to make sure it works. So let's say I wanted the background to be yellow. I'm going to type that color in and we can see it definitely works. So you can play around with it, see what colors you like. I want it to be a little easier on the eyes. So I'm going to do, let's say, tan. I like the way that looks. So again, we're working here in the body tag. You should have background hyphen color, colon, with the color you want. Again, any questions up to this point? I'd love to help you guys if there are any. Am I going too quick, too slow? All right, well, if you have any questions, again, please do not hesitate to ask. Awesome, thanks, Wendy. Okay, so now that we have our color, I want to show you guys at the bottom of your code output where it's showing us what our website would look like. There's this little button that says open a new window. This is fun to kind of click as you're typing more code because it shows you what your website's going to kind of become as you're building it. So if you click open a new window, it's going to open up in another tab in a full browser to show you what this website will look like. So we can see on ours, like we are still slowly building it out, but this is what it would look like on a full web page, which is exciting. So if you're curious as you're building what this would look like, feel free to check back in with that button, see what it changes or how it looks. Okay, so now that we have background color, I want my headers to be centered. So for me, I don't love everything being left aligned. I prefer it to be in the center. So if that's something that you guys want to do as well, I'll teach you how to do some text alignment. Similar to how it is when you're doing a Word document, let's say in a Google Doc or in a Microsoft Word page, it automatically will align to the left if there's no text alignment. So notice we don't have any text alignment. It's aligned to the left side, just like if you're working in a normal word processor. So in order for it to center or be aligned to the right, we have to specify that. Now I want that to happen to all of my text. So I'm going to do it in the body tag. If you want it to only be, let's say, this first header, you don't want it to happen to the rest, you would do it inside this, the specific header tag you want it to affect. Although I want it to center everything. So I'm going to be working in the body tag. This is part of the styling of our page. So after background color, I'm going to put that semicolon because I'm now going to be adding the property text hyphen align. So here's the property text hyphen align. We're going to separate that with that semicolon, and then do a colon and specify, do you want it aligned to the left, center, or right? I want mine aligned to the center, and you can see that that works. If I wanted it aligned to the right, I can do that. I could specify if I want it to the left. So feel free to play around with it, find what you prefer. I'm going to keep mine in the center here. So again, it's really nice to have that body tag because instead of me having to go into each individual, it'll affect everything with that one tag. Okay, so I feel like we kind of have the basic building blocks here. Let's go ahead and add some content. I'm going to teach you guys how to do a paragraph tag on a website. So let's say I wanted to add a paragraph about gymnastics. Okay, the way you add a paragraph is you're going to go underneath the header that you want the paragraph to show in. So I want the paragraph to be about gymnastics. So I'm going to go underneath the gymnastics header tag here. Yours is going to be whatever topic you choose, or chose, I should say. And the paragraph tag is one of the easier tags, I would say, because the only way you write it is you're going to do that opening angle bracket, a P for paragraph, and then a closing angle bracket. So it's a really easy tag. It's just a P for paragraph. And then remember, we always want that closing tag to be there. So what I want you guys to do is I want you to add a paragraph under each of your 2 or 3 subheadings that you have. And then we'll move on to the next thing. So remember paragraph tags, angle bracket, P, angle bracket, and then do your closing tag. So let's say I wanted to write about the US women's gymnastics team. I would fill that information in between those paragraph tags for it to show on my website. Now you're going to notice on the right side here that that paragraph tag is centered. And that's because remember in our body tag, we said, okay, everything in this body tag, we want to be centered. So it automatically aligns to the center since I put that up here in that body tag. All right, so I'm going to go in, I'm going to add 2 more paragraphs. I'm going to add one in my swimming header or underneath it, and I'll add one underneath on my water polo header. I'm a sucker for the Summer Olympics. I grew up in California, always did summer sports, so you can see I have a love for them. Okay, so feel free, you can put 1 sentence, you could put more sentences, it is up to you. I just kind of wanted to show you a glimpse of how to add paragraphs to your website. So what you should have set up now is you should have your header tags, then you should have a paragraph under each of your subheaders. Any questions? Okay. I will give you guys, let's say I'll give you 15 more seconds to type in those paragraphs. So if I were to open it in a new window, I can see, oh, okay, this is looking like more of a website than it was before. Slowly but surely, we're building. And this is really cool for your students to do too, because they love the idea of seeing like what they're building is directly turning into something, especially something that's technology, right? Our kids love technology. They're going to spend time on it. It's like unavoidable. They love technology, and so they'll be spending time on it. So this is really cool for them to actually be productive with their time, practice problem solving, learning a new skill. So they definitely love it. Okay, so now that we have paragraphs, I definitely want to leave like 5-ish minutes at the end. Valerie, do we need more time than that? Okay, so I want to leave like 5 minutes at the end for us to share the websites we've built. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next topic, which is adding images to our website. It looks good. We have a great organization, but we want to start making it a little more visual, right? We want to add some pictures. So what I would like you guys to do is go to change lesson here at the top and go to the images lesson. You're gonna have to scroll down a bit. I definitely am picking and choosing what I'm teaching you guys today because I want you to just get a good feel for it. So we have a lot of lessons in between here that students can learn, but let's go ahead and hop to the images lesson. And now when we add images to websites, we need to make sure that we're following copyright laws, which means we need to pull images or pictures from websites where the pictures are free to use. So on the textbook, if you scroll down a little where it says finding images, these are 6 different websites that you can go to that are free images to use. The one I'm going to use today is pixabay.com. I believe Crystal just threw that in the chat, which is perfect. So let's go ahead and visit pixabay.com. I'm going to go into a new tab and search for that. And you're going to see the search bar in the middle. So what I want to do is I want to first decide, I'm going to come back to the code actually, if you guys want to go back to that. First decide where do you want your images to be. I want you guys to pick, 1 or 2 headers to put an image underneath. let's say I want to add an image for gymnastics and water polo. So underneath the paragraph tag, I want to add an image. You could do it above the paragraph, you could do it below, it's up to you. But I'm going to do mine below the paragraph. And I'm going to write the image tag. The image tag is an open angle bracket, IMG for image, and then a closing angle bracket. So this is what your image tag looks like. Now, the tricky thing with image tags, there is no closing tag. I don't know why. Just the people that created coding decided that we're not going to have a closing tag for images. Because if I were to add a closing tag, you're going to notice it turns red like there's a bug. So that's actually not right to put a closing tag. So it's just this opening tag. And we are going to be inside the opening tag between the G and this closing bracket. So we're working in this space right here. Now, the way that we told the computer above in our other tags we did when we styled them, said, okay, this is how I want to style it. We need to tell the computer what source to pull the image from. We're getting it from a different website. So we need to tell the computer where to go to pull that image. So we're going to add the attribute. It's called a source attribute. And inside the G in the angle bracket in this space, we're going to write source, SRC. So source equals quotation, quotation. So now that we have this image tag here, we're going to go to that Pixabay website, the one that gives us free images. And I want to find an image for gymnastics. So I'm going to go to Pixabay and you're going to search whatever it is you want to find an image of. I want to do gymnastics. So let's say I wanted to do this one. Okay, so click on the image once you find it. And once you do, what I want you guys to do, pay attention here, because this is where it can get a little tricky. When you find the image, you'll click into it, so it's big. You're gonna right click on the image. And we're used to clicking copy image or save image. We're not gonna click those. We need to click copy image address. So again, once you find the image, open it up, right click, copy image address. Once I've done that, I'm gonna go back to my code, and that image address I just copied, I'm gonna paste it in between the quotation marks on my image tag. You're gonna notice it pasted, it's super big, but it did paste in your website. Now, because it's really big, it's too big in my opinion for the website that I want. So I'm going to show you guys how to shrink the image. I'm still inside this image tag here, but after the quotation mark, the end quotation mark, you're going to type width, W-I-D-T-H, width equals, and the computer measures things in pixels. So not inches, not feet, it measures it in pixels. So we want to tell the computer how many pixels wide do we want this picture to be? And it's going to shrink it down to that size. So if I were to try 300 pixels, or px for short, you're going to notice it shrinks that image. That might have been a little confusing. So I'm going to do it one more time. I'm going to add, let's say, a picture underneath the Olympics. Let's say I want a picture of the Olympic rings. I'm going to walk through adding an image one more time to hopefully answer any questions you guys might have. So I'm going to start with my image tag, angle bracket, IMG, closing angle bracket. Remember, there's no closing tag. In between the G and that angle bracket, I'm going to write source, SRC, equals, quotation, quotation. And then I want to find a picture of, let's say, the Olympic rings. I'm going to go back to Pixabay into my search bar. And I'm going to type Olympics. That's the image that I want to find. Perfect. They have some Olympic rings right here. That's the image I want to use. So I click it and open it. I'm going to right click on the image, go to copy image address. Now I'm going to paste that link I just copied into the quotation marks on my image tag. You can see it's huge, it's blown up. I want to change the size of it. So in between those end quotation marks in the angle bracket, so in between these two symbols, I'm going to do width equals, and then let's say I want it to be 300 pixels px for short. You can play around with that number. You could do 20 pixels, 500 pixels. You can play around. I'm going to probably stick to this 300 number. I feel like that's good for what I'm looking for, but feel free to play around with that size. Any questions at this point? If not, that's okay. We just definitely want to help you answer them. If you're noticing any errors in your code or anything like that, this is for you to learn and benefit from. So feel free to add those in the chat if they're there. Okay, so I've added an image of the Olympic rings. I've added one of gymnastics. I want you guys to add, again, like 1 or 2 pictures to your website. I'm going to teach you guys one more thing, maybe 2 if we have time. That way we have about 5-6 minutes at the end to share our websites and review what you guys did. I'd love to see the work you guys have produced. So I'll leave about 5 to 10 minutes at the end here to show off what you've done. Okay, so now that we have learned how to add an image, there's one more thing I want to teach you, which is how to add a video. And the way we add videos is actually, in my opinion, it's probably the easiest code that we do, which is surprising, but I'll show you why. So let's say I wanted to put a video under the swimming header tag. Okay, I don't have a picture yet. Let's say I wanted to put a video of like Michael Phelps's last Olympic race. So what you're going to do is you're going to, in a new tab, go to youtube.com. And I want you guys to search for a video that you would like to add to your website. So I'm going to be looking for Michael Phelps's race. Let's say we do his last Olympic race. I'm going to go with this first one, the men's 4x100 medley relay. So I'm going to open this video. You're going to find the one that you want to do. I'm going to mute myself so you don't hear the ad here. Okay, we had a little ad there, so I didn't want you guys to be hearing some excess noise, I guess. But now that we've found our video, we went on YouTube, we searched for it. This is the easiest way to get your code. You ready? So we teach students that there's 2 different kinds of video tags you can do. You can either do what's called an iframe or a video tag. On Skillstruck, we do iframe tags because they tend to be easier. And so once you've found your video, what you're going to do is you're going to right click and you're going to notice some familiar symbols here. So we see these angle brackets next to what says copy embed code. So you're going to click that. And then you're going to go back to your code and you're going to paste it under whatever tag it is that you want to see it. So I want mine to go underneath the Michael Phelps paragraph tag. So I'm going to paste it. If I look, it pasted. So I'll show you that one more time. You're going to go to YouTube, find your video, right click, click copy embed code. It's the one that has the angle bracket symbols. Once you've copied it, go back to your code and paste it where you want to see it on your website. Now, if I open this in a new window to kind of see what it looks like so far, this is what it's looking like. And it looks good so far, right? We've built like a pretty, having it been only, I think like 40 minutes, 45 minutes, we've built a really great website. You're going to notice that the video here is probably bigger than I want it to be. The thing with videos, I normally leave them alone because they can get tricky as you're sizing them. But if you do want to resize it, the way you would do it is inside your iframe tag where it says width and height right here. You can change the dimensions. You kind of have to play around with it. They don't just automatically update based on what the other one is. So if I wanted to make it smaller, let's say I wanted width to be like 600, maybe I can play around with the height being 200, see what that looks like. The width is still probably a little bit too long for me, so I'm going to do maybe 400 and see. Okay, that looks better. So with videos, if you want to change the size, you just kind of have to play around with it. But yeah, so that's kind of what I wanted to teach you guys today. I really am passionate about teaching computer science in schools. I feel like it really fosters problem solving and creativity and critical thinking in our students. It's as you take it step by step. Notice today we just did it all in one fell swoop. I wanted to really just have you guys get a taste of what coding is like. But with our students, we break it down lesson by lesson so that it's not as like fire hose in one bite. So anyway, that being said, I would love to see the websites you guys built. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Is there anyone that would be brave enough to share what they did? And that's okay if you don't have everything. I'd love to just see what maybe you got down in your code.
I can share. I was looking at your code to add the video and I missed it. I'm still working on adding the video. I just wanted to see your code really quick one more time so I could finish mine, if you don't mind.
No, absolutely. So this is what it looks like. Do you need me to walk you through how to add it one more time from YouTube?
No, I got that part. I just didn't. I wanted to see what you had your the width and the height of for your video. Thank you.
Yeah. And thanks for volunteering. I'd love to see what you did. Oh, you're on mute.
I'm not quite done.
Oh, okay, no worries, no worries. As we're waiting, is there anyone else who would like to share? It's okay if it's not perfect.
I can share.
Yeah, thank you, Wendy.
Okay. Let's see. What are you seeing?
I see a great website about leadership.
Oh, okay. I can't tell which one. All right. So that's what I did. I did the video and then just put in some people, and I'm a school administrator. So that's where I got my ideas from.
I love it. And that's so useful too. Thank you for sharing. That looks excellent. Honestly, that looks so good.
Well, thanks for having this workshop. I was super unfamiliar with coding, and so this gives me just a taste of it to see what like everybody's talking about.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I'm glad to hear it was helpful. It helps just getting your feet wet a little bit and being like, oh, okay, it's not that bad. And so I'm glad it was helpful. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. All right. Is there anyone else who would like to share?
I couldn't get the video on, but I can share.
Okay, yes, please do.
See, here we go.
Is it letting you share screen? Perfect. Okay.
So there we go. Here we go. Is that sharing correctly?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
That's awesome. So is this about you?
Yeah.
This looks so good. Yeah, this looks great. I love the different colors you did, how they show up differently on the background. This looks great. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. All right. Well, we only have a couple minutes left. Is there anyone else who would like to share their websites before I pass the time back over? We always love seeing what you build. All right. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pass the torch back to Valerie.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for coming, for sticking out this hour with us and learning something new, being brave. All of you who shared, I loved seeing what you did. Gabrielle, I loved that I could hear a kid in the background because I don't know if you guys saw me, but my 6-year-old was doing homework and he kept coming over and asking me questions. But I think what better thing than to expose them to us learning and model that sort of attitude. So anyway, thank you all for coming and participating, especially when it's a busy time of year. A few quick reminders, you'll have 3 days access to the playground link. So the code editing that you just did, you can hop on, play around with it more, look around in the textbook. If you want longer access, you can shoot us an email and we'll put you in touch with a rep for your area. They can give you a couple weeks more access. They can talk to you about doing a code event for your school if that's something you're interested in, and answer any questions you have that way. If you want a PD certificate, send us an email. We'll be sending out a recording. And I think that's everything I need to remind you guys of. So thank you so much for attending. Oh, email address. You can email me. I'll drop it in the chat. It's valeriewitt@skillstruck.com. Or you can just go to the Skillstruck website, and when you click on it, there's a support chat or a demo request. And if you drop a note in either of those places, we'll get it to the person who it needs to get to help you out. But here's my email address. Good question. Yeah, oh, so if you have questions or want to chat, we'll hang out for a few minutes. And if not, go ahead and hop off. Thank you so much for coming. And I hope you have a great day and a great rest of your school week. Thanks, everyone.